Hello fiction writers, and welcome to week 2. We are going to focus this week on creating characters. Now, last week's assignment, write a story, was a bit vague. This week, I'm going to give you a more structured assignment, and after you've completed your work for this week, we will have a question on the back channel chat about which type of assignment you prefer, and that will help me to know what kinds of assignments each individual person enjoys most going forward, and it will help you to know what you need as a writer in order to do your work. Do you need a lot of structure, or do you just need a lot of free time? So we're going to figure that out as we go through this. This week, characters. As Jennifer Lynn Barnes said in her writer interview, and I know that a few of you really identified with her, she likes to start with basically a character and a problem. And truthfully, that's all anyone needs to start a story, right? Once you have a character and you have a problem, then you can begin to develop the story around it. And perhaps you, like Rick Riordan or Christopher Paolini, like to then take that and outline your entire story. Or perhaps, like Philip Pullman, you don't want to plan a thing. You sit down and you write, and the character and the problem come from your writing as you begin to develop it. But anyway, character and problem, that's the basis for a story right there. So this week, we'll work on the character side of that. And when you are doing any kind of writing, something that's helpful is to have some pre-writing strategies. The writing process itself has really just 3 stages: pre-writing, writing, and then revising. So pre-writing, writing, rewriting, really. Prewriting strategies can help you to come up with ideas for a story, and can also help you to get your ideas organized a little bit before you start writing, if that's what you need. So we'll talk about a few pre-writing strategies specifically for creating characters. And the first one I want to talk about is creating a character cluster. Now, if you wanted to create a character cluster, if you already know who your character is, then you would put your character's name in the middle of a page and begin to flesh out that character more by then coming up with details about the character and writing them all around until you've created a little web that has a ton of information about your character there. But if you don't even have a name, you're not even sure where you want to start with a character, what are you going to put in the middle here? Well, one thing that I find helpful is if I know what my character does when I start. And a way to do that would be to come up with a job that your character might have. Your character might be a student. You might start with 14-year-old up here and work from there. I'm going to start with a particular job today. I'm going to start with librarian. Okay, so I'd write it, circle it, and then I start coming up with ideas, making a little map, a little cluster about my character. Maybe one of the ideas I come up with is a name. We'll see if that happens at any point. So let me just come up with some ideas about the librarian first. Well, first thing I think of when I think of a librarian is a older woman. Wears her hair in a bun. She has glasses. She obviously, as a librarian, loves reading. Loves books. She's very quiet, reserved. She has 5 cats. Lives alone with her 5 cats in a small apartment. cats are all black. All 5 of them, all black. But she can tell them all apart. So you see how as I begin to do this, sometimes my spikes, my spokes off of this little wheel, sometimes they begin to get their own additional details. And that's great, because the more you come up with, the more you know about this librarian. And I'm going to say she has been a librarian for, let's see, how old do I want her to be? Let's say she's worked there for 30 years. Worked at library, 30 years. So we'll say, let's say she started there. She's like 55. Okay, now I step back and I look at this and I realize, you know what? I've created a little bit of a stereotype here. So, an interesting thing you can do with your character cluster, if you've begun to create someone a little stereotypical, and even if you haven't, sometimes it's fun to take one of your initial details and flip it, make it the opposite of what you said. So, let's say my librarian, who has worked there for 30 years, will keep her hair in a bun and the glasses, but you know what? What if what if she's really loud? Really loud, and people are always telling her to be quiet. But she always wants to have really loud activities at the library. She brings in her guitar and she sings. Oh. Sings loudly as she's shelving books. And then I start to think, well, if she's been doing that for 30 years, why hasn't anyone fired her yet? Her brother is the mayor. And that's why she hasn't lost her job yet. Now you see, as soon as I changed one detail there, I started to actually get a story. And that often happens when you take your cluster and you change one thing. If I had changed loves reading to maybe hates books, that would start to give me a story about my librarian as well. So, character cluster is one way to begin to flesh out your character. And it's one of my favorites because it's very visual. If, however, you're someone who really enjoys sitting down and writing, then there's another pre-writing strategy that might work better for you. And that is free writing, which you've probably heard of before, maybe. It is exactly what it sounds like, free writing. So you start out not trying to create an organized document. You start out maybe with a question. And the question here would be, who's my character? And then what you do is you just start writing. And the rules of free writing are that you keep writing. It's good to set a time. So let's say you set a timer for 10 minutes. You have to keep writing for the whole time that you're supposed to be free writing. And 10 minutes is usually a pretty good time because it's not too much and it's enough to help you get some ideas. So you keep writing the whole time. You do not edit as you go. No editing. Don't correct spelling. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about grammar. Just keep on writing. And even if you have to resort to writing, I don't know what to write. I'm getting really sick of this. This is a horrible activity. Even if you start writing things like that, keep writing until your timer goes off. And often, even when your mind gets stuck and you start writing that kind of stuff, if you make yourself keep going, there's something about the physical movement that eventually the ideas start to come out of your pen. They just start to come, and you don't often spend the entire 10 minutes stuck. You usually get unstuck somewhere in there, and then maybe stuck again, but you just keep going. So it's a good exercise in persistence as well. Okay, so we have clustering and we have free writing. And then other things that you could do, you could list. Just grab a piece of paper and maybe write yourself a little question. What do I know about my character? What do I know? Or what would I like my character to be like? And then you just start listing things. 15 years old. Blonde. And don't question yourself, like, why is that important? I don't know, but it came into my head, so I'm putting it down. Female. Gets into a lot of fights. And I'm even going to say fist fights. And I don't know why. These things are just popping into my mind, and I'm just writing them down. It's a little bit listing, a little bit brainstorming, whatever comes into my mind. And when I'm done, I can pick and choose what I want to keep. And so again, it's just another way to get ideas out of your head onto your paper. And that's what you want to do with your pre-writing strategies. So, we've talked about 3 strategies here that you can use to begin to flesh out a character. First of all, there's clustering. Second, there's free writing. And third was that sort of listing / brainstorming. So what I'm going to ask you to do this week is complete one of these. See which one seems like it's going to work best for you. And this is going to help you to begin to come up with a character. So, assignments. And you know, the timer idea is very helpful. You can use that for your pre-writing. You can use that when you're writing. You can say, I'm going to write for 15 minutes. You commit to that 15 minutes, and it's great because you know you're going to be there for that amount of time. 15 minutes doesn't seem like forever, right? That seems doable. And when you're done, you're done. So it's nice because it's a short time, it's manageable, but you're very present during that time. So I do recommend having a timer, and if you're doing one of these activities, set the timer for 10 to 15 minutes. And when you're done, let yourself be done. And when the timer goes off, if you feel like continuing, then you certainly can, but commit to that minimum amount of time. Assignments. Complete one pre-writing strategy for creating a character. So either cluster, brainstorm, or free write. Then, once you have begun to flesh out a character, and maybe you even have a character name now, then you're going to go to the Edmodo website and look in the characters folder. And in that folder, you will find the next 2 things I'm going to ask you to complete. The Create a Character sheet, and another one that says Write a Character sketch. All right, so complete one of these pre-writing strategies to help you get the character started. Then go to the Create a Character sheet, fill that in for your character, and then once you have these pieces, you'll know a good amount about your character. You're going to try to write a character sketch, and this has complete directions and ideas for how to start. There's one more assignment. Number 4 is once again to go to the back channel chat page. and answer the question there.